Are we on? We good?
For September 16th. So welcome to everybody. My name is Tara Johnson, and tonight we are going to share a little bit about the impact training that just took place in Chicago. I keep wanting to say Knoxville. That's not where it was. It was in Chicago. It was north. It wasn't south. So we are just going to take a few minutes, and the participants that all went, I think there were 6 or 7 of them, are just going to hop on and share a little bit about what they heard and kind of their takeaway nuggets. So we're going to start with Lori Huffman. So Lori, if you want to just unmute yourself and go to it, girl, I can't wait to hear all about it.
Yeah. Darn. I had so many that I was hoping everyone else would go first, and then I'd narrow mine down to the ones that I want to talk about. But I had lots of good nuggets. One, I tend to always write a lot, and I think we all kind of have that one VP or MVP that speaks to us more than others. And I love Shannon Wenzel. I think because she tends to be, I don't know, she's a fast talker, and she just kind of says it straight. So it always, everything she shares, whether it's on her Facebook page or at training, is just hits me like, ton of bricks in the head. So some of the things I jotted down that really spoke out to me, just some of them are phrases. If you guys ever watch her on Facebook, she talks really fast. And so some of the things she talked about, or she said, was, do you want to be comfortable or do you want to be successful? And I really love that phrase, because I think that's why we write our whys down if we don't have that why in front of us of why we're doing this. Because if we approach something we don't enjoy doing, it's going to feel uncomfortable. And I will tell you, even after 3 years, it's uncomfortable every single time. And I always had this thing like, oh, after a while, eventually things become easier, and they don't. And then when I hear VPs and MVPs saying, it sucks, like I hate reaching out, or I hate sending the text, it's like, oh, I don't want to hear that, because I kept thinking it would be easier. So it does get easier with some, if you're in a habit of or a pattern of doing things. But that's just one thing that, was very direct when she talked about that. The other thing too, she talked about, I loved her slides, and all the slides, I'm sure this was the same in Knoxville, that they're all available at the end of the month, so you can pull these up. She had some really good, clear bullet points that I was trying to jot down, and I was like, well, it's kind of a waste because I can just download them later. But I love that she talked about that we don't have to have all the feelings about it. Again, it comes back to that. You're never going to have this moment of just like, oh, I love doing this every single time. You have to approach it that it's your business. This is something that you have your why, you're in here, you're doing Arbonne for a reason. So remembering what that is, because you don't have to have the fluffy feelings about going forward. It's, if you think about your job, I mean, most jobs, there are things that you do even about your job now that you probably don't love doing, but you have to, because there's an accountability or a performance review or something attached to it. So your accountability is your why. It's very personal to you. So remembering that this is the only person you're going to let down is yourself if you don't do this. So I love that perspective. And then another thing she said, just, quick on the cuff, she said, there's no struggle, there's no story. Yet have I ever heard a really good, compelling story that spoke to me that was all rainbows and unicorns. Like most people, you've heard stories, even whether it's someone saying they lost their district 7 times, like Linda Parker, or that they've lost their nation. It's always the struggle and the comeback that is the sweet spot. And I think Kristen Walter mentioned that. And it's true. The only difference between a district manager and a VP is that they've heard a lot more no's. So go get your no's. Don't, you're looking for yeses, but you got to hear lots of no's to get to those yeses, because if there's no struggle, you're not going to inspire someone. If you have the easiest journey, you're not going to inspire someone who has it hard to keep at it and keep going after the why. So that was another thing that I love. And, again, I have notes everywhere. And just remembering that we are always adding value and we are serving others. And I think this really helps our mindset, because if we're always like, what's in it for me? What's in it for me? It's just going to be, it's going to come across that way. And so keeping in mind that we're always looking for what's in it for them. So listening to their struggles, listening to, at your event, listening to the things that they're struggling with, and what can you do, or what can you say or show them that serves them? Because if we are serving them, we will automatically, we're going to benefit from that no matter what. They don't have to buy something to get that, but that is what we want to portray, and what Arbonne's about is really just serving people. So if you keep that in mind, it really, I think it'll help you on your journey, and it feels awesome too. So I think I'm going to share that. That was like 3 nuggets. So sorry if I took someone else's.
It's all good. There probably will be some repetition. That just means it was a good nugget. So thank you for everything you shared. I think the thing that stood out to me was that piece in what you were talking about with Shannon, is that it doesn't get easier, but then you added like, unless it's a habit.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, yes, we can get caught up in it's always going to take that 10 seconds of courage. It's always going to take some work. But anything that's worthwhile takes work. And so if it was easy, everybody would do it. And if it was easy, probably wouldn't make the paycheck at the top level of the company really worth it. So I love that. That was awesome. Thank you, Lori. All right, Miss Amy Gill, tell me what you got, girl.
Hello. Actually, one of the things that Lori said was exactly what I was going to say. Sorry, the boys are. Hi.
Hi, boys.
No, about the difference between an MVP and me is, they've had more no's. And they said that more than once. And I wrote that down more than once. And I think that, that's something that Arlene and I talked about on the way home. And I think that really hit something with me. That there isn't that much of a difference. They just ask more people, and it's all about numbers. And I think that was a huge motivator to me. I mean, like I said, I think I wrote that down like 5 times in my notebook. And also that it's a mindset. You have to believe it. I came home, I just so excited. I did a lot of stuff today. Hasn't produced a lot, but unfortunately being a Sunday, people are busy. So I sent a lot of stuff out. Hopefully I'll hear stuff later after everybody's kids go to bed, and I'll start getting some messages back from some things I left. But it is a mindset. You have to believe it. We have, an awesome products, which are there. And I think, sharing the business model, I think that Kristen and Scott, that one probably really got to me. I think I teared up more than once when they were talking. And I think it was, her saying that, he wasn't going to be around. And, if he kept working at the rate, at the rate that he was working. And that's exactly what I think. My situation. There's 3 of us here. I wish there was 4. We just did FaceTime with my husband right before I got on the call. I want to do this. I don't want him to keep working and seeing 50 patients a day, and see another 15 in the hospital, and, not getting up at 5 and not getting home till 7, and not seeing us, being 100 miles apart. And I think that really, like I said, I definitely teared up more than once listening and just watching him look at her. It was unbelievable. And the things that he said about her were things that my husband has, pushed me to do, and said, this is perfect for you. You love people. You love to talk. And I thought, wow, I'm not quite as outgoing as she is, but maybe, maybe someday I'll be up there doing the same thing she's doing. But like I said, she really, I think it was her bubbly attitude and just this outgoing, I'm going to do this kind of, but was real. It just wasn't, it wasn't like, all rainbows and unicorns and, all that. So, just those several things. But like I said, I felt so motivated leaving there, and I'm not going to stop. Today's the 16th. There's still lots more days left in this month, and there's still a couple months left in the year because, I have a goal before the year's over. And I'm going to do it. There's no doubt in my mind. You have to believe it. And like I said, it's a mindset. And you just tell yourself that day, sorry, that is somebody's foot, day after day after day. So, yep. So those are my nuggets. So.
Awesome. Thank you, Amy.
You're welcome.
Yeah, it is amazing it's crazy when you can see yourself kind of in someone else's shoes.
Right.
And their story really resonates with you to a place where like you kind of feel like you know them, or you're just kind of walking like 5 steps behind. And Yeah, the Walters are great. She's a great follow on social media. She is like, I remember probably the very first time I ever found out who she was. They used to do these huge, and I'm trying to think if they still did them, if they did them this year or not, but they used to do these huge raffle drawings at GTC actually. And so they had like this huge drum, and they would give her a microphone, and she would come up, and for like 5 minutes, she'd do like a whole comedy routine. And I was like, you're the coolest person on the planet. Like, she was cracking jokes, and I don't know, just the way she captivated this audience by doing something so silly just made you really feel like you were connected to her. And just as an encouragement, the thing that popped into my head when you said, like, I'm not going to quit. And, I sent out messages today, and people are busy. People are always busy. But the thing that popped into my brain is just the mindset of a fireman. Like, when he shows up at a fire, they don't turn on the hose, and then 5 minutes later, they're like, well, the fire's not out. We're going home. Like, figure it out. They're in it until the fire's out. And sometimes the fire's out in a couple of minutes, like 10, 30, 60. And sometimes it's days, but they're not like going home. They're not figuring out like, oh, we're out of water. So just anybody that's in that place where they're feeling like, again, it just goes back to what Lori said. It's a habit. And the more that you do it and the more consistent that you are, the more consistent the results are going to be. And so if you're kind of like on, off, like a light switch, well, then the responses are going to be on, off, like a light switch. And you get to control the light switch. Like, the electricity is there, but you can't just walk into a room. Well, I guess they now maybe make lights that I think they do that turn on when you walk into a room, but let's pretend they don't. Let's pretend that you actually have to flip the switch. So that's awesome. All right, Fallon, let me hear, girl.
All right. I'm like everybody else. I had several nuggets, and I'm too a writer. So as you see me flip my pages here, I think the first nugget that I wrote down that in my notes in the order that I wrote them was really spoke to me. It doesn't matter when you start, but it matters when you do it. And so I thought that was pretty cool, because I know that we've got a lot of new consultants on the team. We've got seasoned consultants. We've got everybody, but it really doesn't matter when you start. When you think about it, it matters what you do with it. So we're all given the starter kit. All the EMVPs started at the first 20 people of their dream teams, trying to think of that. So I think it's kind of cool that it's just everyone's given it. And so you've got to, it's like what you were saying, like with the firemen, like, hey, I'm going to go out there and fight the fires, and I'm not going to give up, and just kind of have that mental clarity. And I think that's painting that big vision for yourself. And that kind of leads into my, I guess, second nugget was, well, she spoke to me a lot. Gosh, I don't think I have. It was an EMVP, her person named Trisha. She was like a makeup artist and things of that nature, and her husband had cancer, and that speaks to me just because I've recently lost my mom with the battle of cancer. And I get emotional because I think of what this could do. She was talking about, sorry, chokes me up every time, of what you could do for more people. I see people just like my mom. She had created a cancer foundation that people that couldn't afford just the treatments and things. And I saw my mom kind of going through that same type of worry of, oh my gosh, these treatments are $10,000, and just at a bigger level of how you could serve people through this type of a business, that a business could offer this just on a much bigger level. So not just helping you and your family, but how you can grow into it. And that was a definitely a nugget that spoke to me personally, because that's something I know I would love to do for folks like that on a bigger cause. Let's see. Just like Lori said, and Amy, I believe I'm repeating one here. It says, I wrote down, if you want to be comfortable, keep doing what you're doing, or if you want to be successful, get out of your comfort zone. And so that was one that was repeated over and over, and I thought that spoke really loud. I wrote down these three things. The biggest three dream stillers for people are: I don't have enough time, I don't have enough money and I don't have enough people. So if you can dream it, believe it, and you can go achieve it. So don't let those things, we do a lot, they said, between our ears. And so that's really true. We do a lot of thinking. And so we can overcome those big dream stealers. And the final thing that I think that was really cool, because this relates to me, again, maybe it will relate to some of you. I grew up on a farm, and sports was a big part of my life. And so, as new consultants on here, and I'm somewhat considered new, are you coachable? That was actually the couple, I can't remember the guy's name. This is what he was talking about towards the end, but he's like, are you going to listen to your coach? Because there's sometimes, like, when you think you know what you're doing is right and your coach is telling you other way, we can kind of like get in our mind, like, I'm going to do it my way. And sometimes, like, it's hard, it's challenging but there is a way, a system. And I say that for all the new consultants on, because once you kind of do it, it becomes a muscle memory. And so that hard, like, oh, this is out of my comfort zone, I'm not used to doing this. So just remember to be coachable. And I think that's a big key. And last thing I'll say, I know I've gone over my time, but what are you going to be able to say? Because of our bond, I can now, and then you can fill in the blank. And I think they said that towards the end. Because of our bond, I've had more time with my family. And so I thought that was really a cool way to, like, end in the program. And so that kind of left with me like, I can fill that in all day long. Because of our bond, this has allowed me to. And so it kind of allows you to dream big. So
Awesome. Thank you, Fallon. I love your heart, and it's okay to get choked up. It just means it's important to you.
yes.
I read an article actually about, this is kind of off topic, but I think it's impactful, about grief a couple of weeks ago. And it just said, many people feel like they have to, like, get strong and, like, not have grief, but grief, the person that was writing the article had lost his child. And he just said, like, grief is just an indicator of how much you loved the person that you lost. And so you should take it, like, enjoy it, and just let it create those, bring back those memories. So I loved what you shared. I think probably the nugget that I have heard over all of my years within Arbonne that has had the most significant impact on me is the mind your mind. And because everything starts there. Like, if you are not minding your mind, your mind's you go to 1,000 different places, and it's going to get you distracted. And as you said, it all starts here. And sometimes you do have to take action in order for the brain to, like, kick in. And when I say mind your mind, I don't mean like you have to get in a great mental space and you have to have all your emotions in check and you have to have everything in order. Because if you wait to be ready, you'll never do anything, because you'll never be ready. You're never going to have the time. You have to make the time, and you just have to start to take action. And then the other thing I'll say before we jump over to Christy is just, I think those statements of because of Arbonne can not only be stated in the present, but also in the future. Like, what are some of the things you want to be able to say? Like, I can say because of Arbonne, my personal training calendar is half of what it used to be. But it would be great to be able to say, because of Arbonne, I don't have to mow my grass anymore or trim my bushes because I have a landscaper, which is something that I want. So just stating those, making those statements actually also futuristic, which just ties into your why, which you talked about as well. So awesome. Thank you, love. I appreciate it. Miss Christy Moody, are you ready, my friend? You just hit the unmute button and then we'll be able to hear you.
Okay.
There you go. Yay.
Okay. Great. Well, I sat back and enjoyed yesterday, and I didn't take notes, which was fine. We'll get them later this month. But a couple things for me were, and this is not even something specific from yesterday, but I have been very convinced, of course, of the power of connection in Arbonne, and I have been fairly committed to connection. and like sometimes I'll play something while I'm trying to reach out to people, like writing messages or something, because it's just so helpful to have her. Today was just such a big reminder for me about power of connection. So that was kind of my first like general takeaway. And then two things I'll just say real quick. Kristen and Scott were really a blessing to me. And what I mostly just took away, and I know it's kind of been touched on, but
Is she frozen to anybody else? Christy, I don't know if you can hear us, but you just cut out when you were gonna share your like big thing.
You can't hear me?
So I heard, well, kind of. You're cutting in and out, but you just said Scott and Christy or Kristen made an impact, and then you went, and nothing after that.
Okay, just wave at me, I guess, if that happens again. I'm not sure if I'm in the wrong.
Okay. All right.
So
it's no problem. I just want to hear it. It's that good.
Yeah. It was just, I was just mentioning her boldness, you know, that's just like captivating. I mean, for her she actually pulled a guy that was working backstage up on the stage and was like, it was sort of lighthearted and joking, but at the same time, it was just like, you know, this is how she lives her life. She pulls people out of wherever they are to like connect with them. And I've been thinking about that a lot. And she just talked about how you just have to find out where people are. She said, it's neat. Everybody, she said, and he couldn't remember the specific thing she said. She's like, don't bring that Arbonne thing to yoga. Am I sorry?
You got frozen again.
Yeah.
Just repeat the line before you said bring it to yoga.
Am I unfrozen? Yeah, he couldn't bring it to yoga because I think that he's responded with, you don't want him to know about Arbonne. And she's like, or I don't think, anyway, her message was, these people have heard about Arbonne. She's like, but they haven't heard about Arbonne from me. And I want to be like the one to tell them. I don't want my Arbonne water bottle to be like, oh yeah, you're just with Arbonne. And that really like stuck out to me because she wanted to have like a fresh start to be able to tell her story and reach this person wherever they are. That was interesting to me. But just her message of meeting people where they are, finding out like how you can love them. So that just brings it down to it being about them and not about me. And that like just sits so much better with me than, you know, it being about us at all, which it's not about us. But sometimes I can start to feel like this is about me wanting to do my agenda, you know, and it's not. So that her boldness and her, the way that she connects with people was inspiring to me. And then also, I don't know if anybody remembers for sure who it was, but I mean, it's not a new message, but it just kind of captured me yesterday with some things I've been thinking about. The 1440, like, what are you doing with your 1440? And do you remember, anybody remember who that was? Was it Shannon? Anyway.
I think it was Daniel Lauber.
Yeah. Okay. I think so. She just went through a list of everything that could take 1 minute. And actually, when she started, I was like, nothing takes 1 minute. But the more she talked, I was like, nope, that's me.
You're frozen. I don't know if people can hear that they're frozen when they're frozen.
There's many things. Yeah, I didn't know I was frozen.
That's all right. You're doing fine.
Okay. Did I miss a whole bunch, or should I go back?
No, you said you didn't. Something about she started mentioning the things you could do in a minute.
Yeah, and so then she rattled through like 15 different things, and she said, you know, you could without realizing it, she said, if you just, it's time management and being distracted. And so it was just like a fresh resolve for me to like just be so clear about how I'm spending making up. That's just a time management nugget that I had.
Yeah.
Sorry, I don't know what's going on.
You're fine, babe. It's all right. I'm enjoying everybody waving at you because every time you freeze, you drop your eyes so that you can't see anybody.
That's hilarious. Well, sometimes you freeze, so my connection must be horrible right now.
It's no problem.
Okay. I hope
Is there anything else you wanted to add?
I better not. But those are my main things.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate you persevering through your nuggets. It's good. And sometimes, you know what? Technology just interferes and we have to just push through it. So I think two things stood out to me from what you shared. One is because I know Kristen Walter, I think the reason that people resonate with what she says is because she's so authentic. And it just shows the power of authenticity. It shows the power of just being who you are and not trying to be someone else. Like, I'm not going to go about my Arbonne business and trying to be my sister or trying to be Lori or trying to be Christy. Like, I'm going to go about my Arbonne business trying to be me. And I think the other thing that is huge in what you said is really understanding that we are not doing something to people. We're offering a gift to people. And if they see it as us doing something to them, then we have two options. We can either persevere and show them by serving them and loving on them and listening to their objections and listening through their objections and you're not trying to get them to understand, you're just wanting to share your heart. And again, it goes back to that authenticity. But if you go about your Arbonne business feeling like you're doing something to somebody, it's going to leave a bad taste in your mouth. It's not going to be very much fun to share the business with them or the products with them because you're just going to feel like like you said, you're doing it for you, not for them. So thank you for sharing. I appreciate it. Miss Edie, how are you? And you're up, girlfriend.
All right. I have quite a few things, but I'm going to try to make it kind of short. First of all, Kristen and Scott also were like, just touched me a lot too with just how they were and just like, wow, they were incredible. So one of the things that I loved that they talked about was they basically said, kind of shared their testimony and their story about Scott having cancer and how she needed Arbonne to work because she needed to get him out of his job so that he could live the next 10 years he'd been given to basically live with her, with their family, and be present. And so she basically just pointed out that people all the time are saying, oh, this business is hard. Oh, sending this text message or calling this person is so hard. I don't want to do it. And she said, what's hard is what people are going through. And you sending that text message or calling that person are offering them a gift that could potentially make a huge difference for that person going through something hard. What you're doing isn't hard. You're helping the people go through hard things. And so I thought that was really powerful. And then another thing they said was divorce the emotion and marry the process. And I liked that too because I am a pretty emotional person. So like when I talk to people, I generally, like want them to respond to me or want them to say yes. Like I don't like getting the no's. It makes me feel like, I said something wrong or whatever. But so that really stood out to me, just getting rid of that emotion behind it and just treating what you're doing like a business because it is a business. And those people still love you. They aren't freaked out by you. So just get over it. And then Shannon Wenzel, she said, you never run out of people to ask. you just run out of people that you want to ask. And I was like, oh, because I mean, that is just so true. Like, there's so many people we are just frankly unwilling to ask. It's not that we're, running out of people. There's always people around. There's always people you can think of, but you just have to be willing to ask them. And then this was interesting. Sarah Handy was asked 20 times to take a look at the business before she said yes. 20 times. So, don't ever give up on somebody. Like, just keep asking them. And obviously you don't want to just ask them every day, but over time, people's circumstances change, and they may not have needed or felt like they wanted Arbonne at that time in their life, but later it may be something that like they're really desperate for. So anyways, don't ever give up on people. Always keep them in the back of your mind and keep them on your list and remember them. And then Danielle Lauver said, don't wait to start till you learn everything. And I kind of wish I would have heard that when I first started Arbonne, because I kind of felt like, oh, I gotta know what all the products do. I gotta like be competent when people ask me questions. I need to know the answers. And I felt like, you kind of feel that pressure sometimes that maybe you don't know, what to say to someone, but that really is true. Like, you shouldn't wait to start your Arbonne business till you like have tried everything or know everything. Cause like I think it was Christy that said, it doesn't matter, or no, it was Fallon. She said, doesn't matter like when you start, it's what you do. So anyways, I just thought that was awesome. So just being brave. Anyways, even if you don't know what you're doing yet, just be brave and just go after your dreams. So that's it.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. It is interesting. I was just actually having a conversation with a new consultant on my team. She's on the call Friday, and we were just talking about like when you start a new job, it's not like I worked at Target for a long time, and we would hire and train people all the time. It wasn't like we kept them in the back reading like how to check out somebody at the cash register before we scheduled them for a shift. It was like they spent 4 hours in orientation figuring out that they had to wear red and khaki, and when they got their breaks and what they could and couldn't do. But like to learn their job, they just went to the cash register, and they may have like had somebody standing there watching them, which we all do because we've got a consultant that's helping us get our business started, but they're not standing in the office being like, well, I can't go check anybody out because what happens if I hit the wrong button? Like, hit the wrong button, figure it out. Don't hit the button the second time or the third time. So it's a great perspective and a great reminder that we learn by doing. Yes, we learn by studying and by reading, and we need to be diligent to make sure that, we're investing in our business. But the best thing to do is to just do, because that's where you're going to learn the most. And I am a prime example of someone that you don't give up on. So for those of you that don't know my story, I am Missy Hyde's RVP on this team's older sister. And I was her very first consultant back in the day, 13 and a half years ago, when there was no preferred client account. So if you wanted to shop at a discount, you got the consultant account because there weren't any restrictions, very much like they are now, but there was a period in between this where there was. Anyway, so I was her first consultant. I did not start building an Arbonne business for 7.5 years after that. So I watched her grow her business to district manager. I watched her grow to area manager. I watched her grow to regional vice president. I went to her car presentation, saw her in a free car. Like, I watched all of her doing this, stay at home, raise her children. And I was working myself into the ground, like living the corporate dream, which was not a dream. I can tell you that. I get to live the dream now in my sweatpants, like, and my t-shirt. But so you just never know. And it's exactly it's that whole idea of like, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. It's the same idea. When the need arises, the opportunity will present itself. And most of us don't see not most of us, but oftentimes people don't see the opportunity that's in front of them because there's not the need isn't enough. So we just have to keep asking until the need becomes enough. So thank you, Edie, for sharing. I appreciate it. All right, Arlene, are you ready to share? Do you want to share? Can we get a nugget? You can say no. Let me unmute you. Oh, you unmuted. Perfect.
I unmuted. I don't have my notebook in front of me, but
That's all right, girl. You say everything they said.
yeah, really, a lot of my nuggets are the same as what everybody has already answered. I've only been a consultant for 6 months. I've been in Arbonne buying products for a year with Amy. And I just really want to learn and grow my company. And the couple where the husband had the heart attack, my husband has had a 4-vessel bypass. So I see where she's coming from of working hard so that he doesn't have to work so hard. And my husband is 10 years older than me. So I want to get my business built up with clientele with renewals and with consultants under me. So I just thought it was very motivating, and I'm planning to go in May for the conference in Las Vegas.
Awesome. Great. Thank you for sharing. We have a good time there. So buckle your seatbelts.
Okay.
It's a whole lot of fun. All right. I didn't see Michelle on, but I'm going to give just a minute in case she did get on. Michelle Hatfield. I scrolled through the gallery, but I didn't see her name. Michelle, you on, my dear? All right. Well, first of all, thank you all for sharing. Lori, Amy, Fallon, Christy, Edie, Arlene, thank you guys. We really just appreciate it. For those that can't attend events, it's always good to be able to just come and get a few pieces. Even for those of us that went to Knoxville, it was good just to hear some of the same things shared again. And that's so funny because the 1440 thing was shared by someone else, and Daniel Lauber was at Knoxville, so she totally stole it, which I love because it impacted you all, even though it wasn't original to her. But it was just great information to continue to pass along, and it's just the power of knowledge. So that was awesome. Couple of things. This is just a prime example of why events are important. They're just important to go. So there's kind of this unwritten rule, like if it's within a day's drive, like you need to be there. If it's within a 3-hour drive, it's kind of non-negotiable that you should make every effort. Because you get to build relationships, you get to be poured into, you get great training, you get to meet new people, and you get to experience the Arbonne culture. So if you get the opportunity, please make sure that you do your best to get to these types of events. And speaking of that, there is an event to put on your calendar, and it is on October 5th, which is a Friday night. It is up in northern Kentucky. I believe it's in Fort Mitchell, which is one of the cities that's right across the river from Cincinnati. So from Louisville, it's like less than a 90-minute drive. And it is what we call a Benz Bash or a car presentation. And it is to celebrate brand new Regional Vice President Marilyn Stevens. And she promoted to Regional Vice President, I believe, at the end of August. And so basically, if you have never been to one, it is super guest friendly. And I would recommend you not drive with your Arbonne buddies, but that you carpool with your Arbonne buddies, but you fill your car with people who you want to share Arbonne with. So take your 3 funnest friends who are not involved with Arbonne and tell them you're taking a little evening road trip, little girls' night out to northern Kentucky. You can get dressed up, and I believe hers is at a Mercedes dealership, so they usually have cars out that you can go ahead and look at, but they'll have food and refreshments, and then they will do a like some recognition and a presentation of the Arbonne business. So you can just go and you'll hear Marilyn share her story. You might hear someone else share their story. You will see the makeup, which is probably the most powerful thing from car presentations, is the makeup of her team, which if I have to guess, as a regional vice president, she probably has one area manager and she probably has like 4 district managers. And then she maybe has like 5 consultants who are building businesses. But it's not going to be her and then like this massive like 25 people who are coming up. It's going to be much less than what you are expecting that is necessary to become a regional vice president within Arbonne. So, and then her national vice president will hand her her set of keys, and there's just a lot of gifting and a lot of recognition. It's awesome. So I would mark that on your calendar if you can go. They are a lot of fun. The last announcement that I will make is our next 30 Days to Healthy Living starts tomorrow. So if you have people in the pipeline and you want to get them in, you can always add them specifically through that first week because they can always catch up. If you're in the process, our next group, which always starts on the 1st and the 3rd Monday of every month. So you can go ahead and you can look at what the 1st and 3rd Monday is of October, November, and December, and you will know all the last 6 dates, which I'm going to take that back. I'm not sure we're going to do one the 3rd Thursday or the 3rd Monday in December, but you'll know the next 5. So you can put them on your calendar, but the next one after the one that starts tomorrow will start October 1st. If you don't know what that means, not only is it October 1st, but that means that's a great way to close out your month by setting a goal of getting 3 to 5 people plugged into that next group. And it's not only just about them getting healthy, but every one of them is going to add about $50 to your paycheck. So add 3 to 5 of them, that's $150 to $250 that you're going to make before the end of the year, just by helping people feel better and look better in a program that you don't have to really do much with except for just check on them. Somebody else is going to do all the legwork. You just get them the products and you plug them into the Facebook group. They're going to get all the information and you're just going to touch base with them periodically over the 30 days. So thank you guys. Again, we are going to wrap up because it is 9:45 on a Sunday night and people are yawning. So it's time to wrap this. I'm just kidding, Edie. It's all right. I just keep doing this like nobody's going to see me. Nobody's going to see me yawn. But we just really appreciate all of you getting on. Thank you again for those of you that shared. You guys, this is an important place to plug in. And it's just wonderful to see 18, 20 faces of just people who want to get poured into, want to share, and are committed to growing their business in small ways, medium-sized ways, and big ways. This isn't about everybody's got to look the same. This is just about wanting to pursue the gift that we've been given in the way that we want to pursue it. So we appreciate each of you. Have a wonderful rest of your Sunday night, and let's start off the week with a bang tomorrow. And if you want one thing to do before you go to bed tonight, write the 3 things that you are going to do tomorrow that are going to produce income in your business. Just 3. Write 3 before you go to bed, because then tomorrow night when you go to bed, you'll be like, I did my 3 things. I am a rock star. I'm going to write 3 more things. And you just do that. So maybe it's texting 3 people about the 30 Days to Healthy Living. Maybe it's asking 3 people to host an event for you. Maybe it's asking 3 people to refer you as a consumer for the products. Whatever that looks like. Maybe it's reading for 15 minutes, something to develop your business. Maybe it's listening to a Learn and Burn. Maybe it's going on to those area manager calls that Linda Parker's doing and listening to one of those. It's up to you what those 3 things are. But I promise you, you'll feel better tomorrow night going to bed that you've moved your Arbonne business forward by doing 3 things. 3 things. All right. On that note, I'm going to sign off. You all enjoy your evening, and we'll talk to you soon. Good night, everybody.